Lyle, let me begin. Congratulations are in order. The Housing Choice Initiative, North Attleboro has been chosen as one of the communities. What exactly does that mean?
Okay, well, first of all, let me accept the congratulations on behalf of those who did most of the work, which very honestly don't include me. I'll explain that in a minute, but Marie Klarner in particular, who's the chairperson of the planning board and an expert on the town's zoning bylaws, was really in fairness, the prime mover for that. So what that means is the Housing Choice Initiative is a program that the Baker-Polito administration started in 2017 as a way to enhance the housing growth in the Commonwealth and also to reward communities who have demonstrated housing growth. And we as a community, and as we sit here today, 2020, really didn't have to do anything to get into the program except recognize what we had already accomplished and make the state aware in forms of an application for the program. We had to demonstrate that we had a growth of 500 housing units in the community since 2010, since the last census. And we did, we just made it. And we also had to show that we had best practices in 7 out of 12 areas that the state stipulates. And most of them reflect on zoning bylaws. Things like, and I have to use my cheat card. We had to show that we have all of the people in land use commissions, the planning board, have had formal training. We have to show that we have inclusive housing in initiatives in our bylaws. We have to show that we make special arrangements for multifamily housing in at least one zone. We have to show that we're either working on or we've accomplished ADA compliance in a housing program, community-wide housing program, and there are several others. And Marie and I started talking about the Housing Choice Initiative as a way to enter into more grant opportunities for the town. And we went through the bylaws, and mainly Marie was able to point out how we were already there. So we submitted the necessary paperwork to the Division of Housing and Economic Resources in the state, and we were accepted into the program. We had about 15 minutes notice that the Lieutenant Governor was going to announce it at a press conference, so we weren't able to attend, but we're in the program. And what does that mean for us? Well, first, it's a 2-year program. We're in the class of 2020, and there are 84 communities out of 351 who are now in the program in the Commonwealth. The big bonus for us is that we're now eligible for technical assistance in housing programs and also have the ability to compete for large grants. And large in this space is $250,000 in that range. And the intention of the grants would be to help create infrastructure that supports housing growth. As an example, one of the things we've thought about is adding the money, the proceeds, if we got a grant, to the money that Mark Hollowell, is the director of DPW, has already gotten for the Chestnut Street culvert repair, which would prevent flooding downtown, and there are a number of houses in the downtown area who are impacted by that. Another potential use would be to look at the possibility of creating a sewer line that runs from either our private sewer or Attleboro's to the Courtois site along Mendon Road, which has just been cleaned up with an EPA grant and is about to be auctioned off. Now, that doesn't mean sewer is going down there, it's just a potential thought. The grant, the $250,000 grant award window just closed. It'll open again next January. But at least now we have the opportunity to get into that. In addition to that, we as a town get preferential treatment for consideration for grants like Mass Works grants. And to put that in perspective, we just got a $2.4 million grant last December for infrastructure work downtown. So we would have a better chance of getting subsequent grants in that space.
That's not the only good news. It said corner property is so important, and in the past couple of weeks, ABC Vacuum Building, that will be torn down. Pawtucket Credit Union is going in there.
Right.
Handy and Harmon, for a long time, a major issue in this town, that has been purchased.
Yep.
Two right on Route 1 corner properties that will soon have new life.
Yeah, we knew about the ABC Vacuum Building, and I'd have to, I'm not in the business of giving kudos normally to local merchants or business people, but Denise LeBrew, the realtor, really did a nice job in carrying the ball on the ABC Vacuum Building. She's the one that did the heavy lift. I worked with her a tiny little bit. There was an issue with some trespassing on the site that I was able to coordinate cleaning up with the police department, but she handled everything. Pawtucket Credit Union is moving in there. It'll be their first branch in Massachusetts. For us, it's going to clean up an eyesore, and I've probably had more complaints about that building in my time in this job than I've had than any other building. You know, it sits right there in the middle of everything. So, and the corporate citizen who's buying them is a very responsible one, and I'm sure will build a showpiece in that area. So we're delighted with that.
And Handy and Harmon, do we know what's going to go in there eventually?
No, here's what I know so far, and it's almost nothing. But we found out a few days ago that a company, a self-storage Realty of Mass LLC is the name of the company. And they have one employee and principal. His name is Tariq Khalil, and he lives in Uxbridge. I don't think he bought it out of his pocket, but he paid $3 million. That company paid $3 million for the property. That company was incorporated on April 21st, and the Mr. Khalil works out of his house. They haven't filed any permits or anything with the planning department yet. They may have started preliminary contact with a few of the departments in town, but virtually nothing's been done except for the fact that within a year that property is turned over twice. Once to 72 Elm Street LLC, and now this other company. Excuse me. Since self-storage is the name of the company, it stands to reason that what would go there is self-storage. And again, at the risk of reading too much into it, with 21 East Street opening up 193 units, if in fact self-storage is going to go there, it's probably a good location for it. It's diagonally located across an intersection. The history on that property, in case people have forgotten, Handy and Harmon actually sold it to a company called Steel Partners in 2017. But before that, Handy and Harmon had an advanced materials site there. And they inherited a site that was contaminated with potential carcinogenics leftover from the jewelry industry. And there's still a building, the Hillman building on that site. Hillman Brothers ran a company back there for years, and they did silver plating, and one of the byproducts of that manufacturing process are potentially carcinogenic. Mass DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, was involved with that site for a long time. And eventually there was some cleanup work that was done in the time period between 2010 and 2017. But the official status of the property now is that there's a deed restriction on it, authorized use limitation. And what that means is that it could never be used for residential purposes. And really there's not a lot that can be disturbed on that site without a lot of permitting and legality, I guess is the right word for it. So if from what I understand about the self-storage business, if that's what's going in there, somebody's going to pave it and put up temporary, Quonset hut-like things. That's a good use for it. So just about everything I just said is speculative. Usually what happens when there's a large company or a company making a large purchase in town with a specific purpose is that there's an aggregation of departments that meet with them: the planning department, the building department, the assessors, me, the electric department, and find out what health department, if appropriate, and find out exactly what their intentions are, and then walk them through informally the potential pitfalls in what they're trying to do, so that that the company involved doesn't spend a lot of money needlessly with engineering diagrams and drawings and all, which can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we offer that as a service to commercial enterprises coming into town. So none of that has happened yet. I've told you exactly what I know and what I'm guessing at, which is almost next to nothing. I'm guessing that within the next couple of weeks we'll find out more about it. Somebody spent $3 million on that site, and I don't think they're going to let it sit for very long. So as I find out more, I'll make sure that people in town know what's happening.